Hello, I'm Lauren Madelon with the top stories from CBC Newsworld. Well, socialists are celebrating in the streets of Athens tonight. Their candidate for premier, Andreas Papandreou, has made a stunning political comeback just 4 years after having been driven from office in disgrace. Malcolm Brabant of the BBC has more.
As soon as the polls closed, PASOK supporters turned Athens into a racetrack, celebrating what Andreas Papandreou had claimed as the people's great victory. The Conservatives are devastated. They believe Papandreou will wreck the economy and endanger the country with an adventurous foreign policy. Leading New Democracy members have conceded defeat, expressed hope that they will be effective in opposition, and appealed for calm. The result leaves a tense, divided country, and there are fears of more trouble after clashes between rival supporters last night. As he arrived to cast his vote, Mr. Papandreou spoke as if defeat was out of the question, promising a government of development, democracy and security. After being forced from office in disgrace, he has now been completely vindicated and rehabilitated. And his wife Dimitra, who upset Greeks with their brazen affair, is now the country's first lady. When Prime Minister Konstantin Mitsotakis went to vote, he talked bravely of a second term in office, but he must have known there was no chance of resisting defeat.
So Mr. Papandreou has achieved the comeback he always dreamed of, but he will have to prove to these Greeks that they will be better off under PASOK. He will also have to prove to Greece's international partners that he won't return to his maverick ways. Malcolm Brabant, BBC News, Athens.
Authorities say at least 170 people are dead after a packed ferry capsized off the coast of South Korea. The search for bodies has been suspended because of darkness. Korean television is reporting that 50 people drowned and 125 are missing. 74 passengers were plucked from the choppy seas south of Seoul. The ferry resembled this one and was loaded with vacationers, fishermen and women and islanders. The ship sank in less than 30 seconds. Relatives of victims gathered near the scene and began the gruesome task of identifying bodies. Rescuers say that there is little hope of finding any more survivors. Now, the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine has now claimed responsibility for yesterday's murder of 2 Israeli hikers outside of Jericho. The radical group says it will continue its struggle against the peace accord with Israel. The 4 gunmen who carried out the attack are still at large. Meanwhile, in Tunis today, leaders of the Palestine Liberation Organization are meeting to debate the peace pact. The debate is expected to be intense, but it is expected the accord will be ratified. Meantime, 2 radical Palestinian groups are boycotting the session. Lawyers for 2 Libyans accused of the Lockerbie airliner bombing have advised their clients not to surrender. The UN is demanding that the 2 men stand trial in the West and threatening to tighten sanctions against Libya unless the suspects are handed over. But lawyers say they don't believe the pair could get a fair trial in the West. The 1988 bombing of a Pan Am jumbo jet over the Scottish town of Lockerbie killed 270 people. Bosnian Serb forces are being accused of preventing relief supplies from reaching 2 towns. The towns in northern Bosnia have not received any aid since June. Meantime, tens of thousands of Muslims are trapped there. A United Nations official says Bosnian Serbs didn't allow a 24-truck convoy to pass. The trucks were carrying food and medicine. They'll try to reach their destinations again tomorrow. Meantime, in Sarajevo, heavy sniper fire was reported. And in the town of Mostar, 3 people were killed in clashes between Muslims and Croats. Well, there are 15 days to go before Canadians vote, of course, in the federal election. And the 3 major parties seem worried about some recent polls that have shown the Reform Party picking up steam. Now, Liberal leader Jean Chrétien is making reform one of his main targets. Chrétien's visit to a senior's home in Toronto gave him a chance to criticize reform on 2 issues. He said a strong vote for reform and Bloc Québécois would result in a fragmented parliament. But Chrétien also attacked reform over its promise to cut old age security benefits by $3.5 billion.
It was said that Mr. Manning says that he wants to reduce the pension of the people. Fine. But you have to think about the consequences and especially, the meaning of that.
NDP leader Audrey McLaughlin was also in Toronto, slamming Jean Chrétien over a controversial airport deal. The Conservative government signed a contract privatizing Pearson's International Airport's Terminals 1 and 2. But some of the private shareholders are Liberals as well. Chrétien has described the deal as immoral, but he has stopped short of actually saying that he would kill the deal. McLaughlin says if Chrétien won't kill it, that means he supports it. Meantime, Prime Minister Kim Campbell is traveling between Ottawa and Vancouver. Preston Manning is taking the day off in Calgary, and the leader of the Bloc Québécois, Lucien Bouchard, is in the town of St. David de Falardeau in central Quebec. And that is the latest from CBC Newsworld. I'm Lauren Madelon. Stay with us. Coming up next, we return to On the Line with Patrick Conlon here on CBC Newsworld.